Hello, and welcome to this month's episode of Rogue Reader Reviews. I'm sorry it's kind of dark in here, but it's like 8:30 at night, and I don't want to wait until tomorrow to record this video, so we're just going to kind of go with it. So, this month's book is Hitler's Daughter by Jackie French. This is a book that I found at a book fair when I was in middle school, and I picked it up because I was like, how do you not pick up a book called Hitler's Daughter? Um, and I read it and absolutely fell in love with it. And so basically, the book is, it's a middle grade book. It's written for, kids, probably like 11 to 13 or 14 years old. I don't know. But it's a really good book. I just read it and I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm almost 22, so I don't know what that tells you. It's just one of those things that they say that, little kid books are not as much for little kids as adults seem to think, that oftentimes those books are even better than adult books just because of how universally appealing they are. So, it's just one of those things that's like the characters are younger, they're like older elementary school age, I guess. And the book is very simple and it deals with a lot of like self-discovery, asking questions of yourself that you maybe would not ask in, a situation that if a book were not being written about you. But okay, whatever. So I'm just going to tell you what the story is about. Basically, the main character is a boy named Mark, who I'm guessing is around 11 or 12 years old. I was guessing like older elementary school. But the story takes place in Australia, and I'm not quite sure how the schooling system works over there and like how that translates grade wise or anything like that. I don't know. But there's this group of four people um, who meet at the bus stop every day. There's Mark, who is the main character, and he's kind of, I guess the stereotypical like guy. I don't know. There's just something about male main characters in these kinds of stories that all tend to be exactly the same. If you know what I'm talking about, then you'll get it. But and then there's Anna, who is the kind of the driving force of the plot. She's the one who tells the story of Hitler's daughter. And she's very kind of quiet and mature, kind of keeps to herself, but you get the impression that she's one of those people who's just super super nice and kind of is friends with everybody, but is very reserved and kind of keeps to herself. And then there's little Tracy, who I'm guessing is probably 5, 6, 7 years old. She's a little munchkin, and she's very into unicorns and fairies and princesses, and she's just that girl. And then there's one other guy who is like all battles and rockets and just he's the guy that nobody wants around because he just has issues, stuff like that. I don't know. But so basically there's these four kids that meet at the bus stop every day, and one day it's raining and they are just, bored waiting for the bus. So they decide to play this game that Anna's grandmother taught her, where somebody makes up a character and then somebody else tells a story about that character. And through, some whatever, they decide to tell. Anna tells a story about a girl named Heidi who is Hitler's daughter. Obviously, if you know anything about history, you know that Hitler did not have a daughter. He got married like 36 hours before he died, and so I don't know if even if Eva Braun did get pregnant, nothing ever came of it. But this is a fiction story, and it's a story within a story, which adds even more of a suspension of disbelief. Yeah, that's it. So basically, um, there's this so the story within the story is being told about this girl Heidi, who lives with the woman who I guess is like her nanny slash governess. I don't think they had those in the mid 20th century, but basically being that to her, as just being like her caretaker and teacher. and they live off kind of by themselves because Hitler doesn't want anybody to know that he has a daughter, because she is not Aryan, she's not blonde and blue-eyed and beautiful like, Hitler wanted all the Germans to be. She is kind of more like him. She's small and dark, and one leg is a little bit shorter than the other, so she has a little bit of a limp, and she has this like red mark across her face that she says looks like somebody burned a hot iron on her face. Um, and and she doesn't have a mother. Anna said she thinks that Heidi's mother died or something, but and she doesn't see her father that often. Mostly it's just her and her caretaker, and then there are some other women who come and go in her life who cook her food or whatever. But but she's basically just a really lonely kid, and she's just living, she's basically just living out her existence, I guess. She eagerly awaits any visits by her father, whom she calls Duffy for reasons that she doesn't really know. She just always has. And a couple times in the story, she unexpectedly has to move. She gets increasingly scared because she's hearing these stories that maybe she's not necessarily supposed to hear. And and but and then at the end of her story, she's kind of able. I'm not going to tell you exactly what happens, but she gets to a point where she's able to kind of start a new life for herself. So her story ends happily. With But then at the same time as this, there's this whole parallel story going on with Mark, that he's hearing Anna tell this story every day about Hitler's daughter, and he doesn't quite know what to make of it. I guess, he's just like any other 11 I'm just going to guess he's 11 years old, 11-year-old kid. He probably has not thought about this stuff very much. He's probably heard Hitler's name mentioned in some history class somewhere, and he was just like, oh yeah, Hitler, bad guy, killed a lot of people, didn't like Jews. But he's hearing this story, and it's really, really getting to him. So he starts asking questions of his parents, of his teachers. He wants to know things like, if your parent was evil, does that necessarily make you evil? Are you responsible for your parents' flaws? If, like basically, would Heidi be responsible for all the evil that Hitler did in the world? And it's one of those things that, there are certain things about books that just stick with you. And one thing that has really stuck with me with this book is when he's having this conversation with his teacher, and he's asking him if children have to be like their parents. And his teacher basically makes the point that no, you don't. Your parents can genetically pass on certain predispositions, but what you do with them is up to you. So, for instance, somebody who's an artist might have a child who grows up to become an architect. That's the example that he uses in the story. And it's one of those things that's like, I mean, I don't know. I was like 13 when I first read the story, so I was about that same age. And it was one of those things that I never really thought about those questions a lot, but then after I read this story, I did, and I think that that has, shaped me as a person, um, just because I overthink everything, and it's one of those things that it's just like, wow, I can't believe that somebody can make a children's book that's that profound, but I mean, Jackie French really did, and she did it really, really well, and I mean, the story is very, very short. I mean, I read it in like an hour. It's 121 pages of very, very quick prose. Um, but I mean, I would definitely recommend it to anyone who, yeah, has like an hour, maybe two, to spare on this really good story that could possibly change your life, even if you're an adult and, but I will say I need to stop doing these reviews on books that like I read a long time ago, because it was a lot different reading it as an adult, as somebody who has done way more than her fair share of studying about Hitler and Nazi Germany, because and like taking 5 years of German classes. But I mean, I knew more about, you know, the events and the backdrop of the story, and so things were able to be contextualized a lot more. And I mean, it's just one of those things that just blows my mind. And but overall, I would say absolutely pick up this book, read it, let your life be changed. That's my recommendation. Okay, and I'm not going to cut the video to do this, but next month I'm going to do a review of this book, Room by Emma Donoghue. And that will come out the first Saturday of August, hopefully. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Bye.